So you want to know how to beat Dr. White? Well, you've come to the right place. Unless you didn't mean to click on this video, in which case you haven't come to the right place. But if you're a speedrunner, you want to know how to beat Dr. White in under 2 minutes. This is the video for you. So there's a couple different strats for Dr. White. I kind of talked about it in the 20% tutorial video. There's a couple things that can go a little bit differently, and I'm going to cover the 3 different variations of the fight. So first off, we're going to go over the kind of setup for the 3 situations I guess you'd find yourself in. The most optimal, and the one that I showed in the 20% tutorial, is sour dumps, peepers, and jelly beaks. Now, the reason we can't do this in every run is because peepers and jelly beaks are card drops from enemies. So there's a chance that you'll go through the whole run and you just won't get either one of those cards. Or you'll get one and not the other, something like that. So there's a little bit more setup with those situations than it is for this one, because you kind of have to plan ahead a little bit more. If you get both of these cards, then you're good. You don't have to really do an extra setup. The one setup you do have to do is make sure your specials are ready. So I'm going to go ahead and hop back to when you're actually in lab and kind of explain how you should be setting up for each of these 3 scenarios. Okay, now I brought us into the lab area. Remember, this is the last section of the game before we fight Dr. White. So throughout a lot of these fights, we're kind of doing some setup and making sure we have our cards ready and all that good stuff. So because jelly beaks and peepers are random enemy drops, you can't count on them for every run. It's not necessarily an unlucky thing to be missing one or both. It honestly is just kind of up in the air, but most of the time you'll have at least one of those 2 cards. But I just kind of wanted to explain some of the strategies and some of the setup for not having one or none of the cards. So I couldn't figure out how to explain this properly, so I'll put this flow chart up on the screen and you can kind of follow the logic. But essentially, I'm talking about this fight here for this first flow chart with this enemy. This is the first room in the lab. So you ask yourself, do you have jelly beaks? If you don't, then this is the last fight you can use nubbins in. If you do, then ask yourself a second question: do I have peepers? If the answer to that is no, then this is, again, go back to the last fight you can use nubbins in. Okay, and then you can also see on there, if you have jelly beaks and peepers, you can continue, you're good. If you get to this fight, this is the last time you can use sour dumps as well before you fight Dr. White. That one you will definitely have because it's in the route to just purchase that from the shop. But yeah, so that's for the first fight. And now we'll go ahead and run over here to the second fight. I can't get in there, but just to explain things. Again, pretty similar logic. So at this point, we're going to ask another question. Once you get to this fight, do you have jelly beaks? If the answer to that is no, then this is the last fight you can use frostbites in. If the answer to that is yes, you can move on. You don't have to worry about anything. So that's just a very simple setup for this one. Again, don't listen to my words, just follow the logic. Then we're going to run up here. This does nothing to do with cards, but this third fight in lab is when you want to stop using your specials, because we want to be making sure we're getting ready for Dr. White. So just kind of be conscious of that. Don't use your specials in this fight or this final fight over here. There is one exception though. There is a card called Smoochies, which I've used on this file, but Smoochies, you use the card and you'll have all your specials refreshed at the end of it. So going into the next battle, you have all your specials ready. If you have that card, then you can use specials as much as you want in this room with no regard for waiting to have them filled up for Dr. White. As long as in this fight here, you use Smoochies. That's the only thing. If you don't have Smoochies, then remember, this fight, you got to start getting ready. But that's about all I have for the setup. Now let's go ahead and go back to Dr. White and show you how to do some of those fights. Now that we're done with that, let me quickly explain the 3 different scenarios that you can have when fighting Dr. White. So the optimal one is sour dumps, peepers, jelly beaks. But of course, peepers and jelly beaks you're not going to get every run. So there's some backups in case you don't get one or both or none, whatever. Nubbins is very similar in use case to peepers. So if you don't get peepers, you can just use nubbins instead. So you don't have to remember a different fight at all. You'll just use it in the exact same places, and you can just follow the optimal fight for that. Then if you don't get jelly beaks, we're actually going to use nubbins instead of peepers, because nubbins is better when you don't have jelly beaks. So it'll be sour dumps, you'll have nubbins, and then frostbites will be the third one. So I'll kind of get more into explaining those in a minute, but let me go ahead and put this graphic up on the screen before we start the fight. This is just kind of to help you. You can take a screenshot of this, or you can download it from the Discord. That's going to be linked in the description. It's a graphic, so you don't have to actually remember everything. You just look at the graphic. I'm also going to do this for the second fight too, that I just mentioned, where you don't have jelly beaks. So if you don't want to have to watch the whole fight, just go skip forward to the timestamp and then take that screenshot. But let's go ahead and get started. So first things first, make sure you're mashing, because there's a lot of dialogue here at the start of the fight that you want to make sure you're not stuck on. See, like right there. Normally you wouldn't have dialogue, but it's whatever. So first things first, don't change who you're targeting. We're going to go ahead and just use Pumpkin Special. And then again, remember to be skipping through all the cutscenes and stuff. Then we're going to use Peepers. On Superhero's turn, we're going to use it on Jefferson. So there's more text here, make sure you skip through that. And then while we're still targeting Dr. White, we're going to use our special and do a lot of damage. Now there's a little bit more text, skip through that, and then block this attack. So now there'll be no more text. So now that we're done with that, we're going to use Pumpkin to attack one of the picks. It doesn't matter which one, just choose one of them. And then once we do that, we will use, on the same pick, we will use Superhero Special. And then there's more text there. And then with this, we will use Jefferson's attack to take out the last pick. And now it's going to go into Dr. White's Blinding Smile attack. So we're going to use some cards here. Make sure you use Sour Dumps. Don't use Jelly Beaks first. Make sure it's absolutely Sour Dumps, because if you use Jelly Beaks, then you won't get a second use of Sour Dumps. So we'll go ahead and use that. And then because it doesn't, we don't really have time for it again, we're going to make sure we use Jelly Beaks right now to refresh all our cards. And then use Jefferson's Special on Dr. White again. We'll end up refreshing it before we actually need it again, so we might as well use it here instead of a normal attack. Okay, and then we are going to target one of the blasters and use Pumpkin Special. And then no point switching targets if you're already targeting a blaster, but if you're not, make sure you're targeting one of the blasters, and then we use Superhero Special. And then that should take out one of the blasters that you were focusing on, and then with Jefferson, we'll take out the other one. So again, more text, more cutscene. So now we're going to use Sour Dumps again, and give everybody their specials back. And then Superhero is going to use Peepers on Jefferson again. Because we already were focusing, choosing Jefferson, you can kind of just spam through this. So I'll show you just, once you have the card selected, you can just hit X twice, select them. And then again, we will use our special on Dr. White. Now skip through a little bit more. We're almost done with the fight. If we were to get hit one more time, the fight would be over. We'd lose, but we don't have to worry about that. This one, we use Pumpkin Special, just because it's a little bit faster than attacking normally. And then use Superhero Special, and then that's the fight. So again, if you don't want to have to remember this on your own, just take a screenshot of that image I showed, the graphic I showed before the fight, or you can go to the Discord and download it there. But if not, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next variation of the fight. Okay, and now this is the last scenario, really only the second fight that you have to remember. I'm going to go ahead and put that graphic up on the screen right now. This is for when you don't have Jelly Beaks. So the three cards you're going to use is Sour Dumps, Nubbins, and Frostbites. So even if you have Peepers, you're going to use Nubbins anyway, just because it kind of works a little bit better with the fight. Everything else is still the same. You still need all your specials. You're still going to have the same setup with Pumpkin, Superhero, Jefferson. And the fight itself is pretty similar. It just gets different at the end, but yeah, we'll go ahead and get into it. Okay, the fight is going to start very similar. And that's because you're essentially doing the same thing. So We're gonna use jelly beaks, not jelly beaks. What am I saying? We're gonna use the special there. Then we're gonna use nubbins, and then just like before, we're gonna use nubbins to power up Jefferson's special. Okay, and then also just like before, attack normally. Use your special here. And then attack right here. So the reason you want nubbins is because that's going to let you power up 2 specials instead of just the 1. Because it persists for more than just one fight. If you used peepers, you'd only have it for the one special attack. So it's just a little bit better to use nubbins instead of peepers. It's like a net gain of like 100 or 200 damage, so it's not a whole lot, but okay. And then we will use our specials here just like we did before. Special, and then a normal attack. So now this is where it deviates because we don't have jelly beaks anymore. So use frostbite on Jefferson because he's going to do the most damage with his special. And then from here on out, we're just going to attack normally until Dr. White is dead. So normal attack there, special attack here, and then now from here on out, it's just normal attacks. So it's going to be another 3-4 hits before we're done. While it does look like we're close to dying, we'll be fine because we're not going to get hit anymore. We will not be taking any more damage. So yeah, this is the Dr. White fights. If you have any questions, make sure you join the Cosmic Quest speedrunning Discord. One more hit after this here and we'll be done. An optimal split time, if you follow what I do, is technically a little over 2 minutes, but the fight itself is 2 minutes exactly. So I'm not clickbaiting. But yeah, go ahead and make sure you join the speedrunning Discord if you got any questions, or leave them in the comments here. But yeah, I've been Bob Loves Cheese, and thanks for watching.